Well, hello everyone. Oh, I got to remove this. There we go. Full screen there. Hello everybody. Glad you could be joining me for my favorite night of the week, Monday night live stream, where we get to interact about a Gen X issue and just kind of talk regularly. I'm going to let you guys kind of direct the conversation tonight because it's one of those things where we're going to be talking about fashion of the 90s. We talked about fashion of the 80s in the last one, and it went over really well. So I thought we'd talk about fashion of the 90s. But I think overall, I might have less to say about the 90s, but we'll see. So we'll kind of be a fashion of the week 90s thing, but obviously whatever you guys want is whatever you, whatever you guys want to talk about is actually good. So a couple of quick announcements before I bring my buddy Thrash Pondo Pons on. I just want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. And thank you to everybody who's hung in there with me. You know, as I get new subscribers, I don't want to forget ever the old crew that hung in with me through thick and thin over this last year and still trying to get monetized. But I did a video 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago on the real reason Jason Bateman got fired from Silver Spoons. And it just went nuts. I mean, as nuts as anything's ever gone on my channel. It's up to nearly 3,000 views. And I went from 795 subscribers to 854 subscribers last I checked. So that was a really good one. It was interesting about that is I was almost going to do, I'm still going to do it, but I was almost going to do the real reason Charlotte Rae left Facts of Life. And then I just thought, well, I wanted to do 5 things you didn't know about Silver Spoons, but I thought, I'm doing these 5 things. And I thought, well, let's just do, something a little different. And so you notice the formatting of the video is a little bit different. I started off with a narration and then jumped in the middle of it. And then it was a much shorter video, but it's a formula that seems to work. So I'm going to play with that a little bit. I won't just do television stuff, though. I thought about doing the real reason, like Vince Neil was fired from Motley Crue and other things like that. So that's good. And the other good news about this is that I fixed the thing with StreamYard so Thrash Pondo Pons can keep up on the comments, because we know how that goes, keeping up on the comments. Yeah, Charlotte. Well, real quickly, one person already brought this up. I'll just as quick, and then I'll bring Thrash Pondo on. I thought Charlotte Rae left Different Strokes. She did, but she also left Facts of Life in its last season as well. Just so you know, and we'll talk about that. About the reason why. I mean, obviously, the reason why she left Different Strokes was to go to Facts of Life. But here, with that said, let's just bring my good friend Thrash Pondo Pons on here. How you doing, Thrash?
I am living the dream. Only in this
Wow.
case, more of a nightmare.
More of a nightmare.
No, I'm being silly. It's a dream. A dream to some, a nightmare to others. Excalibur.
Oh, is that from Excalibur?
Mm-hmm.
The cartoon or the live action?
Live action, my favorite high fantasy film.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about fashion of the 90s. I don't know how much I have to say about fashion of the 90s. I think part of the reason why, we're going to say hi to everybody in just a second, but part of the reason why is like I still dress kind of 90s, and I still find that some of it's still relevant. But we'll get to that in a minute. Thrash, why don't we start right off on talking about our, saying hi to our friends in the channel.
Look what I can do now. Yay! Danny Staten says, greetings from South Carolina.
Greetings, Danny. Glad you could be with us this evening.
And speaking of other people who've been there through thick and thin, Danny's been one of our biggest cheerleaders. And I don't know if you guys have seen some of his new comic book posts. They're absolutely outstanding. And if you subscribe, you could possibly win some of the comics he reviews.
Okay, right on.
Lance Chafin is here. Says, hey, Ian and Thresh.
Hey, Lance. How you doing, my friend?
Glad you could make it. He messaged me earlier. He says he might not be able to make it tonight, but he did.
Oh, well, I'm glad you did. I'm really glad you did.
Tug, the unapologetic geek, says greetings from St. Louis.
Greetings, Tug. Glad you could be here with us.
Meet me in St. Louis, Louis. Zoomplex is with us. He says, I wonder if ENC fixed that Squarespace problem.
I think he meant the StreamYard problem, and the answer is yes, absolutely.
Clearly. And let's just see who else we got here. I know there's going to be a few people. Oh, look. Retro Serial says, I can post comments now, too. That was me, actually.
Yes, that was you.
Yeah. I'm such a scamp. Oh, Crossing the Door is here. Hello, Crossing the Door. He says, all the fashion on Saved by the Bell was pretty cool. Well, maybe just Kelly Kapowski.
Yeah, that was some good fashion on. I mean, if you think about 90s shows and 90s fashion, I think one of the outstanding shows that you think about is going to be Saved by the Bell, for sure. That kind of more hip hop 90s cool kid, clean cut 90s fashion. That kind of faded away. I don't really see that anymore. I mean, for me it was more the grunge stuff, and I still wear grunge things, and I don't feel out of place. Like when I wear like a baggy, like a baggy plaid shirt or something. I don't feel like I'm like, oh, being retro. I feel like it's still relevant. I mean, if I had those stonewashed jeans or something
flannel
like that,
plaid shirts had been popular since the last century, and they've never really gone out of style. I wore them in the 70s and 80s. My grandfather wore them in the 30s. It's the type of thing, it just never goes away. They just sort of reinvent the accessorization of the garment.
Yeah. What's interesting is John Bender from the Breakfast Club. He was like grunge. That was like a grunge look he had.
It was.
And before it was even like way before grunge came out.
Well, anyway. I mean, the grunge look was really just the extension of I hate to call them the shop kids, but in my school, that's what the shop kids dressed like. And it was really an extension of that sort of clothing. They just made it a little more fashion forward, I think is the way to put it. Oh, and speaking of Saved by the Bell, let's not forget, rest in peace, Mr. Diamond.
Rest in peace. So sad to see him go.
Very, very sad. Tracy Roth-Myers is with us, and she says, hi, Ian. So what am I, chopped liver?
Hi, Tracy.
Let's see. Oh,
You're not chopped liver, but I think she wants to say a special hi to me, and I want to say a special hi to you, Tracy.
Of course. I'm just being silly. I'm very thick-skinned. I have to be. Zuplik says Jason Bateman is nearly as bad as Matthew Broderick. Wow. Ooh, someone is grinding the old axe tonight.
I don't know what you mean by bad. Like, is he's bad? Like, he is as bad as Matthew Broderick. Like, they're both bad as in bad or as bad as in good.
So you mean bad, or bad?
I think bad is like bad, because that's how I see Jason Bateman and Matthew Broderick. Bad. They're bad.
Wajamin is with us. He says, hello, everyone.
Hello, Wajamin. How's life treating you? Good to see you.
Oh, and Tug says, hello, Mr. Thrash. Hello to you too, Tug. Oh. So good to see you. Oh, Crossing the Door said, everyone left different strokes. Dana Plato, Dixie Carter, etc., etc.
Who's Dixie Carter? I don't remember. Who was that?
I'm actually racking my brains. I know I'll know her the second someone says it, but I'm racking my brains from. See, I kind of stopped watching Different Strokes towards the end. To be honest with you, I liked the first couple of seasons, and then I kind of tuned out. I don't think it's because I didn't like it anymore. I think a show I liked better was running against it. That happened a lot.
Do you remember the show, or do you just remember kind of not?
I just remember Different Strokes losing the dial war. Nope, I'm staying on this channel now.
Well, you can only listen to you can only do stuff for so long. It just everything kind of gets a little bit old after a while.
Yeah, I mean that was it. I kind of grew out of it. Like, when I was in middle school, it was cool, but as I got older, I wanted like more sophisticated entertainment, like Taxi.
Yeah.
Danny Staten says, "LOL, wasn't that from the Excalibur with motorcycles?" You're thinking of a George Romero film. I believe it was called Night Riders. Um, uh, Paul Sorvini's in that. Also, a very very young Ed Harris. Have you ever seen that one, Ian? It's an
No.
amazing film. It's a Renaissance fair like the ones they have nowadays, only instead of jousting on horseback, it's motorcycle enthusiasts who do like a demolition derby dressed as knights. And the movie came out when I was like 12 years old, and I remember thinking, how is this not a thing? How do we not have motorcycle jousting in this day and age? And to this day, I still think, why don't we have that?
It would be
But
a great sport to kill ourselves.
so there's a downside. Let's just see. Lance Chafin says 90s plaid long sleeve shirts and Doc Martens.
I think if you think
Trey
about,
chic.
yeah, Doc Martens. I mean, I know Doc Martens were popular in the 80s too, but I was wearing them in the 90s. Um, and the plaid, the other thing that I used to wear that I still wear is kind of the shirt, the long shirt over the short or under the short shirt. I still wear that like crazy too. I don't feel out of place. I don't feel out of place at all. I loved it all. The some of the stuff is out of style, like what you saw in Saved by the Bell, or if you saw it in Clueless, like the fashion in Clueless. I think the fashion in Clueless is pretty much out of style. The other thing that I think about when I think about fashion is Friends. Friends was had a lot of fashion stuff in there, especially for women. The what the guys wore, is kind of mundane. I wouldn't look twice to see if a person wore something like that. But if a girl was wearing like what Rachel and Phoebe and Monica were wearing, some of those clothes look, they would look pretty dated at this point if you saw them wearing those things now.
But they were very trendy at the time of the show.
Oh, they were great, and it was such a
Mm.
turn from 80s. It was such a turn. It was like it was very much, oh, we're on to something new, especially the hair. We talk about fashion, but you talk about the hair, especially with the girls, because the girls, the 80s hair with going up
Big
and the big
perms,
hair,
yeah.
and it just went just the opposite. It went down, down and straight, and the Rachel, but even Monica's hair and some of the and Phoebe's hair was straight, long and straight, not
Mhm.
the up the what's that called? Teased up. The teased up look was out.
Well, Phoebe was trying to bring back the hippie look, which was an actual big thing back in the 90s. That whole 70s hippie look was sort of making a comeback in
I
many
remember
circles.
that. I remember that. I remember that the resurgent of the hippies movement kind of thing. The guys
Uh,
look stupid, in my opinion. I'm like, what are you just trying to get close to these hot girls?
well,
These,
yeah, hot uninhibited girls.
yeah, very much so.
Crossing the Door says she was replaced with Mary Ann Mobley as Conrad Baines' wife. That explains it. I stopped watching the show before Conrad Baines got married.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was about the time I dropped off too, because they got Sam in there, who was their cousin, was the cousin Oliver syndrome that they had
Yes,
going on. So
indeed.
yeah, she was replaced with Mary Ann Mobley as. Oh, really interesting. I remember her now, but I don't remember. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, interesting. I didn't know she was. I didn't know she left before the show was over. I remember Dixie Carter, that she left for Designing Women, as I
Downing women.
recall. Yeah.
Well, that's the show I remember her from. Zublik says you still had dials in the 80s T-Pones. Yes, I've always been known for having archaic technology. Oh, and Lance goes on to support Dixie Carter was married to Mr. Drummond. She had a son named Sam Danny Cooksey.
Yes, Sam hated it.
Oh, and look who's here. Ken Wilkinson is in the house, by the way. He says, "Good evening, Bob and Ian." Mr. Wilkinson, so good to see you, by the way. Oh, and I got your message, by the way. That was very nice of you to send me an email today. Oh, and Tracy Rothmeyer says, I know to meet people, but Ed Harris' mom was a really good friend of mine. She hails from Evanston, Illinois, too.
Oh,
Wow.
interesting.
That's
Wow.
very, very cool. Well,
That
then
is very cool.
maybe you could answer me this. Was it Paul Sorvini who put him together with Stephen King? Because as you do know, Stephen King is the man who really put Ed Harris on the map. And of course, Tom Sorvini used to work with Stephen King doing practical effects in his movies. If you know, great. If not, I'll just continue to make it my working theory.
Okay. Sounds like a
Let's
good theory.
better than anything else I can come up with. Zuperlik says, "Didn't you know the Cusack family too, Tracy?"
Yeah, she
Did she?
does.
Oh,
It's on my bucket list to meet John Cusack. It's like he's my favorite actor of all times, and I just would love to meet him. That'd be awesome. I'd
her
like to work
father.
out with him.
Her father was also best friends with Harlan Ellison, which I find.
Interesting.
She goes on to say, "I'm trying not to sound funny, but my mom worked for CBS TV. That explains a lot.
Oh, wow. Yeah, right on.
And my dad worked for the Chicago Tribune and various other media. So growing up, I know a lot of people."
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. It's very cool. Yeah. Well, let John Cusack know he's welcome to come on my show anytime.
Oh, and Crossing the Door says, "I just remember the kid who played Sam was the troublemaker on Nickelodeon's Salute Your Shorts."
I don't know. I've never even seen Salute Your Shorts. I remember that kid, Sam, and I remember not being interested in Different Strokes pretty much after he showed up. That's about where I tuned out. Was when they got Sam on there.
Gotcha, gotcha. Oh, and Tracy goes on to say, "For me, it wasn't necessarily lucky. It's just that those are the people that knew my parents, and I knew John from acting school. So you don't know a lot of people. Dad was popular. He worked for Playboy." No
Ooh,
kidding.
wow,
No
that's
kidding.
very interesting.
Well, that is very interesting. What did he do? Was he like article submission? Is that how he knew Harlan Ellison? Let's
Did he work
just.
in the photography department?
Lance Javen says, "Crossing Danny played Edward Furlong's friend in Terminator 2. Thank you. Thank you. I thought that was him, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But yes, he did. He was one of those child actors who just kind of disappeared later on, but
Well,
I do remember that.
so Danny, the kid in Different Strokes, was in Terminator 2.
Yes, he played the John
Yeah,
Carter's best friend.
yeah, he's the guy who turned away the Terminator. The Terminator asked him, shows him a picture. Have you seen this
Mhm,
kid? And he goes,
mhm.
no, or something, or he sends him off a different way, or something like that. I didn't know that was the same actor. I can see it now in my mind. I can see that that's the same kid.
And Crossing the Door says Thrash froze. Yes, I did freeze again, by the way. I noticed that a minute ago.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is with StreamYard. But maybe when I take this computer class coming up, I'll find out if there's something I can do about it. No one in the house is even using the internet, by the way, so it's not a strain on my system or anything.
yeah.
But for the moment, I'll just pretty much be a a, a reader
A
of comments
Yeah, a reader of Okay, well, you
in a
can
frozen
if you
position.
do you want to try to pop out and pop back in?
I'll try it once. If it happens again, we'll just live with it. I will try it once. I'll be
That's
back in a
fine.
second.
Okay, all right,
Okay,
sounds
bye,
good.
guys.
But and I'll just kind of keep this going here. Let's see. I wanted to say hi to Starlong. Nice for you to join us here today. And Tracy writes, I know it's not that you guys were looking for in I know that you guys were looking for inhibited girls. Some of us girls were looking for bad boys. I was a little bit of a bad boy, probably. I mean, I I did hear that from time to time, that I was somebody that they didn't want their daughters dating, you know. So, because and what it was that I was bad in school and I skipped school a lot and I did drugs. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, nitpicky here about what a bad boy is. I guess you can get me on that. I was a bad boy. I want to hear some of your favorite stuff you used to wear. And do you experience that? Do you still wear anything from the 90s? Maybe we still wear stuff from the 70s. I don't know if you wear stuff from the 70s or not. But I mean, whatever, if you wear stuff from the 90s, what was your favorite 90s trend? Is there anything you wish that would come back? With the boys' hair, I remember this real specifically with the boys' hair because in the late 80s, it was like the metal hair or whatever, at least in the circles grew up in, I ran around with. And we had the long hair, but it was shorter and longer in back, but not short. I'm not talking like the Joe Elliott. I'm not talking about the L7. I'm not talking about the 8 drape. Okay, I'm just talking about it was this long, kind of, but unevenly long. And then in the 90s, for some reason, it was like the boys' long hair was straight across, was straight. And I never jumped on that, but I did end up growing my hair long all over. It was still a little bit longer in the back. And Thrash is just still not being able to connect to us here. Unfortunately, he keeps popping out and popping back in. Thrash froze. That happens a lot crossing. Okay, let's see here. Yes, Lance, he stole money from an ATM with an alt. Yeah, I think you were talking about the uh, Terminator 2. Uh, all right, Shock Theater official. Well, thank you for joining us. Shocking. Glad you could be with us today. And Superplex writes, just whack your computer a couple of times, Thrash. And Lance Chafin just hi. Okay, what did your dad do for Playboy? He was an illustrator artist for Playboy. Well, that's got to be interesting. Did he write the little cartoons or something? I don't know. I guess I'm gonna guess it paid pretty well. I'm glad the mullet is gone. I'm glad the mullet is gone too, but is it really gone? I mean, is the mullet really gone? I mean, I still see people wearing it. And even though it went out with the mainstream, I think country music still accepted the mullet. I think that was still one of those things that country music accepted that was still there. All right. So still wear Nucha and Stonewash jeans. Nutricia. I don't know what that is. But Stonewash jeans depends on how Stonewash. Remember those Stonewash jeans that were buttoned up and then they would unbutton them slightly, so they had like a little triangle going off to the side, and they were kind of high and they were a little baggier at the top, and then they kind of thinned down at the around the legs. Those were awful, and a lot of those were stonewashed too. They weren't always stonewashed, and for some reason, there's this big resurgence of there's this big resurgence of overalls. I mean, it was just they were awful. I hated overalls. It's just like people would ask me, "What goes with this? What goes with these overalls?" And I said, "I don't know. I know what doesn't go with overalls: girls and a job. That's what doesn't go. Look who's back! Look who's back!" All
Minor
right.
technical problems.
I gotta say hi to this lady here. I know who
Oh,
this is.
most blessed Gigi, but thank you for joining us.
Gigi. Most
What
blessed
did I say?
Gigi.
Did I say
Gigi.
Gigi? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Gigi. It's the Gigi delivery system. Gigi, most blessed Gigi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, Gigi. All right. So let's see. Let's read this one.
Crossing the Door says any Corey Haim or Corey Feldman war in the 90s was popular. Yes, anything they did wear was popular. They were fashion
Yeah.
plates.
Well, they did, but um, Corey Feldman's the one that's still with us, right? Not Corey Haim. Corey Haim's the one that killed
Feldman's still with
himself.
us. Yeah, hey, we have lost Mr. Haim. Rest in peace.
Yeah, that sucked. I really felt bad about that. Did you ever see the live show Corey and Corey?
No.
Are the yeah? Oh, it was not a live show, but a reality show with the two Corys. I think it was called Corey and Corey or the two Corys or something like that. I don't really like those kind of shows, but that show to me reminded me of me and my friend Tom, because I was more like Corey Haim, and he was more like, no, I was more like Corey Feldman. He was more like Corey Haim.
That sounds
Just,
right to me.
I mean, it was awful. It was funny to watch because I'm just watching whenever he would come over. It was just like, this is what it's like for this guy to come over to my house. It was really crazy. It was a lot of fun. But Corey Feldman kind of got in the 90s. He kind of got a little bit like retro Michael Jackson kind of thing. Like even today, he does the moves like Michael Jackson.
Well, yeah.
But in the
Supposedly Michael Jackson even said that he loved Corey Feldman's Michael Jackson impression. Now that's praise from Caesar, because Michael Jackson, generally speaking, didn't have a huge sense of humor of people ripping off his moves, even when they were trying to impersonate him. So for him to say that he loved Corey Feldman's moves, that's a pretty big deal.
Right. But in Rock and Roll High School, when he does that dance on the bleachers, and looks like, for me, that was super cringy. I was like, ugh, that was just
Rock and Roll High School. You mean not Rock and Roll High School. That was what was that called? It had the
it had Corey Feldman in it.
It had Corey Feldman in it. It has the woman who's now married to Patton Oswalt, his second wife, and they had a reboot of that song, James Dean, in it. But it wasn't Rock and Roll High School, and it's going to eat into my brain if I can't think of it now. Well, we'll get back to it. I know exactly what you're talking about because I just saw it on YouTube not too long ago. Well, that scene you're talking about.
For me, that was the ultimate cringe.
Dream a Little Dream. Tommy, I'm going to butcher your name. I'm very sorry. Tommy Scavietta says it's dream. Oh yeah. Here, I'm going to highlight it. It's Dream a Little Dream. Thank you. That was killing me.
And welcome, by the way. Welcome.
And of course, welcome to the party. And thank you for bailing Thrash out at a truly awkward moment. And now where were we?
Let's see. Let's go right there.
Oh, okay. The Unapologetic Geek says hypercolored t-shirts were fun, but they had a bad habit of highlighting your armpits.
Because that's
tank tops are worse.
Is the hypercolor t-shirts? Is that where it gets hot, it turns colors? Is that what those were?
I'm not familiar. I assumed he just meant those really loud, bright, vibrant, like fluorescent salmon color shirts that people remember used to wear t-shirts under sports coats. That was a big look, and Don Johnson started it with the cobalt blue, but it got increasingly crazy in the 90s. Fluorescent colors really ran the gambit, those sort of day glow yellow and that type of color.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's talking about. How that would highlight your armpits is still beyond me.
Well, if it's the one I was thinking of, that when you get hot, when it changes in the heat, the color changes in the heat, that would highlight your armpits for real.
I imagine it would, but I'm not familiar with such a garment.
It's pure witchcraft.
It's witchcraft.
I'm just kidding around.
A witch, baby bird, huh? Burn the witch, burn! Sorry. Let's see. Danny Skaten says Rock and Roll High School was a Ramones thing.
Oh, okay. All right. Interesting.
And let's see what else. Oh, and Crossing the Door says mullets were all over professional wrestling, even into the early 2000s.
Yeah, yeah. There always has been mullets going on. It just comes in waves of popularity. Uh, yeah, yeah. They even did it in like way back in the warrior days. Like seriously, like back in the mid centuries. What am I thinking of? The Middle Ages,
Mhm.
and they did it because it was harder. They had it more shaved and then long in the back because it was long in the back, so it keep your neck warm, and it was shaved on top. It would decrease the ability for somebody to grab your head in the midst of battle.
I believe it. I believe it because that
I
was a thing.
I watched a thing on it on the internet, and I don't think the internet would lie to me.
And there was something else in relation to that, but yeah, grabbing your enemy's hair was a big thing. I heard also that sort of like the bowl cut where they just sort of cut across. That was from helmets. It was so you could
Oh,
see under, because if your hair got long, the helmet would push your hair down in front of your eyes. So they
oh,
had to do
okay.
that cut across, like the Prince Valiant cut, I guess,
Right,
is
right.
what I'm
Yeah.
looking for. You.
That makes a lot of sense. I got my
Mhm.
bowl haircut from, your mother putting a bowl on your head and cutting it across. It's where my bangs came from when I was a kid. Now, I actually
Uh,
don't know if my mom ever did that. Did your mom ever do that? Did your mom ever put a bowl on your head and cut it
no,
across?
my grandmother was an okay hair cutter. I think it's a skill she picked up during the Depression. So either my mother took me to an actual barber, or my grandmother would cut my hair if things were a little tight at the time. But she never did like the bowl cut. My mother
Mm.
preferred my hair long anyway. This, what I've got now, is probably too short for her. She always liked long hair. I was a kid in the '70s when long hair was for men was at its peak. Oh, Crossing the Door says, speaking on a more high society note, Frasier's outfits were super fashionable in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, Frasier didn't he wear a lot of suits in the show?
Hmm.
A lot of button-down suits and things like that. And I just don't see that as ever going out of style. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think if I saw somebody dressed like Frasier today, I wouldn't turn and think they were being retro in any way. At least I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look.
There was a great episode of WKRP where they decide they're going to have a theme party, and everyone is supposed to wear what they were wearing 20 years ago. And Les walks in wearing a suit, and they chastise him and go, Les, you were supposed to wear what you were wearing 20 years ago. And he goes, this was what I was wearing 20 years ago.
Right.
And as a kid, I thought that was very, very, very funny. Oh, most blessed Gigi says, I had a bowl haircut as a child. LOL.
Ah, okay. All right. Yeah, you had a bowl haircut as a kid. That's I don't
I had
know
a
that what
plate.
for girls if it was high up or something like that. I don't know if that was flattering or not. Did you like it, Gigi? That's the question. Did you like the bowl haircut as a child? What else we got? We're gonna talk here. We gotta
Oh,
talk a little.
Tommy Scavetta says, everything is still about red or blue. Are you talking fashion or politics?
I think that's a very good thing to say. Everything's red or blue. Well, remember in the 90s was I mean, it started in the 80s, but I do remember in the 90s there was a big deal about red and blue, I mean, for gangs.
Oh,
You were
yes, the street gangs. Yeah, the
yeah,
Crips or the Bloods.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I managed to avoid that that chasm. But but
Neither
but
one of
but
them would accept you. Is that what you're saying?
exactly.
I put in for Delta Gamma Blood and I was rejected. I put in for Gamma Gamma Crip and they rejected me too.
I was in a fraternity when I was in college, but much much more low key,
What
much
was your
much.
fraternity?
It was a Kappa fraternity,
What I
and
don't was that the name of it or was it
well,
like
it
Kappa
was
Land
Kappa
the
Delta.
New?
It was Kappa Delta Phi, but we called ourselves the Kappa Brothers. It's funny because some fraternities, they you have to say all three letters. Some abbreviate down to two letters. We just went by the Kappa Brothers.
Oh, okay.
If you look
Interesting.
closely, there's a couple references to if I'm filming something from the bridge, there's if you see anything in black and gold, that was usually from my fraternity days.
Did you know the Greek alphabet?
Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, Zeta, Eta, Theta, Iota, Kappa, Lambda, Mu, Xi, Rho, Pi, Rho, Sigma, Tau, Epsilon, Phi, Chi, Psi, Omega.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You gotta not
Yes.
alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, eta,
Zeta,
theta,
Eta,
iota,
Eta,
kappa, lambda,
Theta,
nu,
Mu, Nu, Xi, Omicron, Pi, Rho, Sigma, Tau,
sigma,
Phi,
tau,
Chi,
chi.
Psi, Omega. But we had to do it very, very fast. They used to race us, which is why we, the trick was you had to say it 3 times before a match burned out.
Oh, you did. Oh.
And what they would do is when you were like spitting out really, really quickly, they would hold the match to your mouth, so you would actually blow it out while you were doing it. Gonna start again.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do know the whole alphabet, but I like to show off and do it very, very, very quickly. But that's just me. Les Javen says, "I'm happy. I'm bald. No worries. How my hair looks."
Good for you. Good for you.
Oh, look who's. Oh, sorry. Hang on.
No,
Oh,
wait,
there it is.
you keep
Well,
messing
no.
me up here. You got to read
Well,
this.
because I'm trying to say hi to Daryl. Daryl's in the house.
Oh,
My other
all right,
brother. How
all
you
right,
doing,
all
Daryl?
right. Okay, all
Nope.
right.
Too late. Too late. No, I'm kidding. Daryl, we know you're there. I'll get back to you in a second.
Hey,
Tracy,
Daryl. Good to see you.
the whole point of this exercise was that I could now highlight comments, wasn't it?
Yeah,
But
I know, but I get to highlight occasional ones, as I
of
see
course you
them.
do. Of course you. Anyway, Tracy Rothmeyer says, "La sports sack bags were big too." I'm not familiar with sports sack,
It's
but it
got to
sounds
be
cool.
like a lady's bag of some kind.
Probably French.
Yeah.
Did you get them at like Macy's or something?
Well, la in
Lancome,
front of it. Le
La
sportsaka bags.
Lancome, the Lancome Les Sports Sack bag.
Uh,
No, no. Where were we? Oh, ah. Tommy Scavetti says they had the movie theaters in the malls back then, so the malls great. Yes, they
yes.
certainly were. They certainly were. Of course, they're closing malls left and right now. 2 of the malls I worked in Massachusetts are now gone.
Nobody's shopping at them anymore. People just go online to shop.
But
That
it
was
wasn't
the,
even about the shopping back then. It was a social gathering spot. It was a place where people hung out.
yeah, I know. But yeah, that's kind of like how we congregated, but we would go there. But now that people aren't shopping, people aren't going there, and they're not going there, so they're closing, so people aren't congregating. I mean, it doesn't do the mall any good to have people hang out and not shop. You know, it's like, okay, we can all hang out here and not buy anything. I miss going to the record store. That's what I
Oh,
miss.
yeah.
Or the tape. Well, I bought tapes, but I mean, but they had records there. But I still miss going to the tape and CD store and just perusing around and talking to people who actually knew about music.
Record Town had
So
a giant section of cassette tapes.
yeah.
So yeah, they sure did. Did they have Strawberries where you were? Strawberries
Uh,
music?
well, okay. They had strawberries, but not
Oh.
strawberries music.
Strawberries music, I think it was based out of Boston, but anyway, Strawberries music, they had this like thing where if the letters on the cassette box were red, they were $5.99. And you'd be astonished how many they called them red letter tapes, and you'd be astonished how many of them there were. And that's how I bought my Boston, my Blue Oyster Cult, a whole bunch of stuff, because the lettering on the side, because the cassettes, it was always either black or red, and my favorite
Right.
groups always seemed to be red. So that was their little gimmick. But yeah, I love cassette tapes. I still have somewhere in these catacombs, somewhere I have a box, and I mean like a box of cassette tapes that I have to dig out sometime before they melt.
I love cassette tapes too. I've still got a bunch of them. None of them here, but back in Utah, I have some. Have a bunch of them. But yes, well, all right. Let's do that one.
uh, Most blessed Gigi says it was bad.
I think she's talking about her haircut. I
Haircut, the
think
bull
that.
haircut, yes.
Yeah,
Very sorry, Gigi.
we all
See,
had to suffer. We all had to suffer through bad hair as a kid. Just the way it was.
Zublik says, so without the hat, you would look like Conan the Barbarian, Danny. I think that's a reference to the way Danny used to wear his hair.
Well, how did Danny used to wear his hair?
I'm
I
looking
guess
for it as we speak.
Like Conan the Barbarian, I guess. I mean, I
Oh,
know.
here it is. I haven't had a haircut since 2011. It's long, like 80s Roth long.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
Uh, and let's just
how long did you ever get your hair, Thrash?
down to the middle of my back.
Really?
I used to have
Wow.
hair down the middle of my back.
That's that's long. I probably mine down to the middle of my my shoulder blades is as long as I had mine, and then about this long here. By the way, I don't know if you watch my videos, a lot of my videos until the end, you'll see a picture of me when I was little. I normally put a picture of me when I was a kid, but you have to watch all the way to the end of the video to see it. And there's one where it's like in the 90s, and I've got like this haircut that's down there. So if you're ever looking for me in true Gen X 70s, 80s, 90s, watch my videos till the end. You'll see a picture of me.
Dennis Jitten says, more like Tommy Chung without a beard, LOL.
Right.
There you go. Oh, look who's here. Cindy D has joined us and says, hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Cindy.
How are you?
Great to see you. Tom Scavetta says, trampolines I used to have to get parental permission to jump on them at friends' houses.
That makes sense to me, that you would have to have the permission of the people who own the trampoline to jump on it. I mean, seems reasonable, doesn't it? Seem reasonable to you, Thrash?
Well, yeah, because you could really jack yourself up. I froze again. Damn it.
That's
I'm just gonna run with it. But yeah, I remember we had a trampoline that in my school when I was like in 4th or 5th grade, and one free period, a bunch of us were permitted to use it, and I really jacked my back up. Not go to the hospital bed, but like I hurt myself on it because I came down on it wrong. You can hurt yourself on a trampoline pretty good, particularly if you're not like paying attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, I've had friends that had trampolines, and I never got hurt on them, but I heard about a lot of trampoline injuries. We were going to get a trampoline, but my mom was going to do the whole like level with the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You know that?
Yep.
Where they dig the hole and they put it level with the ground and you jump on it. So I guess I don't really see that as a big deal, though. I mean, yeah, I guess you're not falling off, but if you jump high and then you land on the ground, it's not going to be pleasant.
No matter what you hit, you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you're saving yourself a few feet. You're falling, off. But still, to jump that high and then to miss the trampoline and land on the ground, I couldn't imagine being a pleasant experience.
No.
But I've had people had broken arms and stuff and fall off. I've seen people injure themselves on trampolines, but I just was never one of them. I love trampolines. They're fun.
They were fun, but again, you can like jack yourself up. So I can see people being cautious. Oh, Dennis Jayden says, "I'm 6'4". I look like Hulk Hogan. I'm 6'4". I look Hulk Hogan in the eyes."
Oh wow!
You tower over me.
You tower over me too.
I'm like 5'6". I'm short. Oh, Zuplik says, "Are you sure you are not Bigfoot, Danny?" Tracy says the Princess Diana haircut was popular in the 90s.
Yeah, that was pretty popular. I remember that. Yeah.
I remember a lot of the girls in my high school got their hair cut that way for a while. Would you consider that a pixie cut, by the way, or was it a little too long to be a pixie cut?
I don't know what I would consider it. That's a good question.
Near pixie, a pixie-ette. A pixie-ette.
Yeah, you stumped me. I don't know.
Lance Chafin says, I remember Camelot Music and Musicland. Musicland was the outfit I used to work for.
Uh-huh.
Musicland had different components. Sam Goody was music, Suncoast was video. I worked for video,
Did
but we
you
had a lot of Sam
did you guys have Pegasus music?
Did I? No, no. Sam Goody might have, but I mostly sold videos,
Yeah.
VHS, and then later DVD. We
Yeah,
didn't do a lot of music.
we had Pegasus Records is what we had, was one of the big ones. And that's where you would go and buy all your records and CDs and tapes and all that stuff. So, yeah, Pegasus Records, and then Pegasus, and then we actually had a Sam Goody as well.
Yeah, that was we had Sam Goody, and of course Record Town, which later became Tape World, and I believe is now even FYE, if there's any still around.
FYE. We had
FYE.
Fries. We had Fries. Did you have Fries?
No. No. Oh, Thomas Gavetta says MTV was in its best days back then. I would tend to agree.
In the 90s?
I would tend to agree.
Yeah, that's that I would agree with that as well. I mean, I would totally agree with that.
You got Liquid Television, you got Alternative Nation. They were really trying to dig in and do avant-garde entertainment. They were trying to be, I don't want to say a little more highbrow is the wrong word, but they weren't just doing top 40 stuff back then. They were doing stuff with some edge to it, and I couldn't agree with you more.
I really enjoyed him. I'll be honest with you. I even like the first few seasons of The Real World.
I could see that.
Yeah, the first few casts of The Real World. Then it started just getting ridiculous. But they were doing some fun stuff back then. I really enjoyed MTV, and they were still playing music in the 90s too. I remember late 90s coming around, and I remember it was either the 2000s or the 90s. And I remember catching Total Request Live. Do you remember that show?
No, I don't recall that show.
Well, they used to have this show, and it went on from the 80s. It may have changed the name, but it was Total Request Live. And people could call in that day and vote for their favorite video, and they would do a top 10 where they would show the video. And it was, like an hour or a couple hours long. And if your video got in the top 10, you would be able to see the show. And actually, Motley Crue changed MTV's protocol because Home Sweet Home ran for so long at the number one spot that they said 6 weeks is all you get. If your video is number one for 6 weeks, it can't be voted on again. It was either 6 weeks or 8 weeks, something like that. But I used to watch Total Request Live. And then there was a while there, as I've talked before, where you kind of don't watch TV, and then you go back and you see something you haven't seen for a while. And then I was watching Total Request Live, and they weren't showing the whole video anymore. Like what? Really? Like they cut it off like, I don't know, like 30 seconds, a minute before it was over. And I just think, well, are people like losing their attention span or something? Can they not sit around for an entire video anymore? Videos are
Probably
pretty short. So
I know,
that's exactly
really.
what was happening. That was exactly what was happening. People were losing their attention span for videos. So they stopped watching them. I mean, they stopped playing the whole thing. Anyway.
Cindy D says loud clothes, colored prints, and mix match colors were popular in the 90s via the French prints, etc.
Yeah. Those kind of fashions, I would think, are pretty much gone. That would be a fashion trend that I would say is pretty much over with.
The intentional clashing, yeah.
Loud colors.
Yeah. Oh, and Daryl Jones says Tower Records. Did they have a Tower Records where you were?
Yes, sir, they did. Love Tower Records.
They had a huge one in Boston. And the coolest thing about the one in Boston was it was built in like an old like apartment building. I think it actually. I think it had been like maybe more like a firehouse or something. But anyway, they had turned the sub level into shops, and they had these. They had it was called Man from Atlantis. It was a video store, but it specialized in foreign and hard to get movies. So anytime I went to Boston, I would go to Tower Records, and then before we left, we would hit Man from Atlantis, which was underneath, and that was like our day.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, oh, let's see. Denny Staten says, I'll hunt down a Bigfoot. I'll wrestle a bear. I catch rattlesnakes with my bare hands. I run like he. From a spider go figure, LOL.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I don't like spiders a whole lot myself, so I get it. Yeah. Like I'll kick a bear in the face. I'll drop an elbow on a live grizzly, but yeah, oh no, not really. But spiders freak me out. I don't like them. No
I'm
thanks.
arachnophobic too. And since we moved in a house next to the water, as any of you've ever lived near like marshes or anything like that, no, you get the really, really big spiders. We have wolf spiders here. They're like small tarantulas, and they freak
Yes.
me out. They really do. They freak me out.
There are some wolf spiders that I don't know if they're tarantulas. And I moved out here now, I'm in Tennessee right now. And like where I was from before, yeah, we had spiders, black widows and stuff like that. But a lot of the, I don't know, like there's more creepy crawlies out here just because we're in the woods. Where I was in the desert, it was like desert stuff back home. But now that I'm here, it's just like it's a lot more wet, and so there's a lot more stuff that just freaks me out. And then I stick my hand up in ceilings and stuff when we're doing rewiring. And then I tell you, and I
Ooh. Uh-huh. Go ahead.
and I
I
gotta
know this is
crawl
going.
under stuff. Did I tell you about that? I stuck my hand
No.
up and I
Oh,
went
no, you
and
haven't,
I
but I'm like,
I went to pull something out and I pulled out a snake skin.
oh,
Oh man, because we got to feed
wow.
wires across. So I pulled out this thing, and I'm like, I
Mhm.
grabbed something that I thought was a wire, and I pulled it out. I was like, well, I guess somewhere snakes live in houses. That's
At
the
least it wasn't the snake. At least the snake wasn't still in it. You
no,
know?
right?
Crazy. The Unapologetic Geek says Kurt Lauder brought class to MTV. Crazy that sounds. You know what he did? He kind of made it a little more
Sophisticated.
sophisticated, intellectual, that type of thing. I still have his book somewhere, Bat Chain Puller. I bought that years
Oh,
ago. Actually, my
I didn't
mom
know
gave
he
it to me
had
as
a
a
book.
gift. Yeah, well,
Uh,
he's written a few, but the one that's about his experience with MTV is called Bat Chain Puller, and my mother got it for me.
oh, cool.
Um, from when she owned the bookstore. They sent it to her in a shipment, and she goes, "I'll never sell this, but my son would like it," so
Yeah,
she gave it to me.
I really enjoyed Week in Rock. That was one of my favorite things I looked forward to watching. Um, um, every week on MTV was Week in Rock. That was great.
I have to read this one. Zublik says, "Will someone please call 911 for T Pons? I believe he's suffering from a coronary." Don't even kid. You know? No,
Yeah.
I'm just frozen again. I think I may have insulted an Egyptian god. That'll do it. Oh, this one's cool. The most blessed Gigi says, my first concert was Quiet Riot and Wasp.
Quiet Riot and Wasp. Those are some two solid heavy metal bands. Quiet Riot. I was a big Wasp fan in the 80s. I liked Quiet Riot. They were cool. Come on, feel the noise, bang your head. And then, of course, Quiet Riot gave us one of the best guitarists of all time, Randy Rhoads, one of the founding members of Quiet Riot. Loved him. Incredible guitarist. But Wasp, man, Wasp, that was like dark metal right there. Wasp was some dark metal.
Oh, look who's Keith E says, I have been here from the beginning, but my father's favorite argument was the difference between fashion and style.
Well, I don't understand that quite. The difference
I'm not
between
sure
fashion and
either.
style.
I think fashion is contemporary. I mean, the idea being what's in fashion, whereas something with style never goes in or out of fashion. I can't think of a simple example because I'm not very fashionable, but like when
I
you
don't.
see like a classic suit, and you go, that suit is from the 1920s, but it would still be very fashionable today,
It'd
or at
be
least in
still.
style.
It
You
would
know what I'm
be in
saying?
style. I don't. Yeah. I don't. I don't know how you would distinguish between those two personally. Like I don't know how you would distinguish. Like so, something that was in fashion wasn't stylish, or
Well,
something that's stylish
you,
wasn't in fashion. See, I wouldn't know how to distinguish between those two concepts
hmm. Well,
personally.
I'm thinking about, like take for example, the Annie Hall look, where it's very, very, very out of fashion, but it's a style, and she makes it work. You follow me?
Yeah.
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 Or Phoebe in
Friends.
Friends. You know, her fashion choices were very, very unconventional, but she made it work.
Yeah, I guess, but I still see that as a type of fashion, I guess is what I'm saying. So
I'm with you.
I would love to hear what your father how your father would distinguish it because I'm sure it makes sense to him in his own mind. I'm sure he has some categories in which he's separating to which he can oppose those two things. I just am not seeing it at the moment. Doesn't mean that I'm right. It just means that I'm not seeing it at the moment.
Check. Lance Chafin says Kennedy was on a game show called Friend or Foe. It's a good show.
I remember Kennedy. I liked Kennedy actually quite a bit. I liked Kennedy when she was a VJ. And yeah, friend or foe. Do you remember that?
I don't remember Friend or Foe. The only thing I really remember about Kennedy was she was giving an interview to Johnny Lydon, and he took his mic off and he got up and he walked out because she was driving him up the wall. And I wish I could remember what the signature event was that caused him to walk out. But she really wasn't being obnoxious. She was just being her typical high energy self. And but when Johnny Rotten thinks you're being unprofessional, that
Was
says
it
something.
was it Johnny Rotten?
Oh yeah, his real name is John Lydon.
Okay, all right. I
Johnny
wasn't sure.
Rotten was his
Well,
stage name.
Johnny Rotten walked out on everybody. Johnny Rotten walked out on Kurt Loder.
I don't recall. He did. I don't recall that.
Yes, he did.
I
He
believe
went
it, but I
up.
just don't recall. Yeah.
He went up to Kurt Loder, and Kurt Loder said, "Hey guys, how you doing?" And then he walked. He turned around and walked away. He says, "We're out of here," and walked off. So I think it was just a thing for Johnny Rotten to do. He just didn't want to. Yeah, yeah.
Could
So
be.
yeah, I
Could
wouldn't
be.
take it personally with Kennedy whatsoever. Was Kennedy the one at Mission Impossible where there was an original cast member from the show Mission Impossible, and
Oh,
she was like, "What are you doing here?" And she didn't know that there was an actual television
original.
show Mission Impossible because they were at the movie premiere.
Yeah.
Was that her? Was that Kennedy who did that?
I remember the story. I can't quite remember if it was Kennedy or not, but I do. I remember, and it was someone who was like, I can see him plain as day. But they go, but yeah, she's like, what brings you here? He goes, I was on the original. Do your research or something. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
wow,
He was very rude to
yeah,
her.
yeah. Well, it's kind of hateful to tell somebody there has been right to their face. But of course, you remember, was it Kesha, who had been a fan of Seinfeld since she was a little girl, and she was on a red carpet for something, and Seinfeld was there, and she went to give him a hug, and he brushed her off like she was just some crazed fan. And then after she walked away, he's like, well, "Who the hell was that?" And the guy interviewing him said, "That was Kesha." And then when he realized who she was, he felt like a jerk. And by
Yeah.
golly, he should have in that case. Tracy Rothminer says, "I guess you would hate the huntsman spider. They are huge. They could be almost 10 to 11 inches tall or wide, rather." Yes, and I heard they're very aggressive too. I have a friend from Brazil.
Yeah. I don't like spiders at all.
Nope. Nope.
My stepson got bit by a spider in he's from Australia,
Mhm.
and he has these scars on his leg from the spider bite, like his leg, like it's this thing, and people keep thinking he has diabetes, and he doesn't have diabetes. It's these scars on his leg look like what you have when you have diabetes. Have you seen those kind of black and blue kind of scars, and it's from a spider. So spiders are just they're Satan's spawn.
Wow.
Hate
Wow.
them, can't stand them.
Well, I heard the deadliest spider in the world is actually from Australia.
Yes, you
Oh
heard
yeah.
correct, from what I understand.
Let's just see.
Let's
Tug just said they have absurdly large spiders in Australia.
Yeah, and Tug also wrote this here.
Tug goes on to say there were a lot of great unplugged episodes: Nirvana, Eric Clapton, etc.
Yeah, that Nirvana Unplugged is one of my all-time favorite Unplugged. Well, I mean, obviously Nirvana is my favorite band ever in the whole wide world, but I think Unplugged is just a masterpiece. I mean, it is just a masterpiece. Eric Clapton, I saw the Eric Clapton one as well. I thought that was really good. I also liked the Cranberries. They did a really good one. One of the only ones that I didn't like on the Unplugged was 10,000 Maniacs, which I'm a big fan of Natalie Merchant, but she sang flat the entire time, and it was just yes. And I love her voice, and I've heard her sing live just fine, but it was terrible. It was one of the worst performances ever, and I feel bad for her. I don't know if she just had a bad night or whatever, but I feel bad for her. Oh, and remember Oasis?
Yes.
Okay, so Oasis, the night they did Unplugged, the lead singer, is it Nolan Gallagher? Is that the lead singer? It's the Gallagher brothers.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it was Nolan and then his brother. The guy who normally sings was sick. He was there, but he couldn't sing. And the brother who plays guitar, who writes all the songs, sang. And I thought, man, they should just kick that lead singer out, because he did a phenomenal job at singing all the songs. Like a phenomenal. I was just like, why do you even have that other guy? I mean, to me, I honestly thought he did better than the lead singer, and he writes the songs too. So anyway,
Zuplik says, "Yeah, Florida is the breeding ground for wildlife that hate humans. Yes, it's called other humans." Oh
no, you didn't.
Oh, yes, I did. Oh, yeah. Daryl Johnson goes on to say, and a huntsman spider will chase you down. I'm going to have nightmares.
A huntsman spider's not going to chase me down, though. I will kill that thing. I will put a sledgehammer to its head, or a big
Cindy
boot
D
to
said,
it.
Pencil skirts never go out of style.
Pencil skirts. Well, again,
because they're so sharp.
Because
they're so sharp. Pencil sharp. And Transformers Minor says, Tug, that's the huntsman spider. They all live in Australia. I thought the huntsman was from Brazil. I must be thinking of a different spider.
I don't know. Who knows?
Let's just see what else we got here. Oh, and Cindy D says Bohemian Style was Phoebes. Yeah, I'll buy that.
And remember the new Bohemians? Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, they were great.
Their big album was Shooting at the Stars with Rubber Bands. And Tommy Scavetta says drive-ins were fun. There's still one drive-in left on Cape Cod.
Oh, there is. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's any drive-ins in Tennessee. We drove by one the other day that was all shut down. So, and it was just like, but it was shut down. So, and the grass was all filled in with it in a town about an hour away from where I am right now.
Oh, here's a good one. Cindy D says, I remember Remote Control with Ken Ober. That's where Adam Sandler got his start on that show, didn't he?
Yeah. Adam Sandler played a character on a Remote Control that would come out and ask questions. Love that. I always got freaked out about when you got taken off the show, because they started out with 3 contestants, and then when you got taken off the show, you got pulled back. The thing would open and pull you back, and that you'd just slide all the way back in your chair. That used to freak me out. I don't know. Yes. Yeah. I was a teenager, but that always freaked me out. I was just like, I never would want to be on that show because I would never want to get pulled back there. And I would always imagine like those people like go missing or something like that.
Oh, Keithy says, fashion and style. I just gave up listening to my father. I don't really remember what he said anymore. Something like style is always in fashion, but fashion is not always in style. Oh, all right. I'll
So,
buy that.
like on the square of opposition in logic, you can say all horses have 4 legs, but not all 4-leg animals are horses. So,
Yes. Yes, you could say that. You could. Or some of Leonard Cohen is dead, but only some of the class of dead people are Leonard Cohen.
yes, right, exactly. Do you know the square of
Crossing.
opposition?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right.
Crossing the door says Seinfeld thinks he had the best show ever. Just ask him.
Well, I mean, did you see his interview with Larry? What's his name? You know, the guy used to with the glasses and he talked to you
Larry
like
King.
this. Larry King.
Larry,
Did you see that? Did
yes,
you see
Larry
that
King.
interview with
Mhm.
Seinfeld and Larry King?
Yes.
Yeah, that was bad. Where Larry King's like, so did you get just taken off the air? Your show do bad? And he's just like, are you under the impression that we got canceled? Yeah.
Honest to God think Seinfeld was drunk when he did that interview. Not slurring his words drunk, but combative drunk, because he has been known to have an alcohol problem.
Oh, okay.
So I think because he took that way out of context. And yes,
Yeah.
I do recall that, but such is Hollywood, I think.
Right.
Let's just see what else we get going on here. Oh, Daryl Johnson says everything in Australia is deadly.
Most everything. Yes, for
Most
sure.
everything. Tug says, as someone used to sing in a band, there are times where you're just off, and you can't do jack squat about it. I remember years ago. Do you remember Laura Branigan? Laura Branigan did You don't remember Laura Branigan?
No.
She did a song, Self Control. She did another song called Gloria. She had a couple of big hits in the mid 80s. She did an episode of Saturday Night Live, and her voice just gave out halfway through. And it was painful to watch. It was like watching a small animal get tortured. It was really awful. It was really, really awful.
All right.
Cindy D says, CMT, country music, something or other. Did a similar show called Crossroads. They had Taylor Swift and Def Leppard. It was a great show.
Those
Taylor
are
Swift,
two totally different opposite ends of the thing. Taylor Swift and Def Leppard are totally
you could pull that off.
I mean, I would be down for either one of them, you know? I mean, I pretty much like and dislike each one of them equally. So it's all good.
And Tug says, hey, wait a minute. I was bred in Florida. Yeah, but you're just a crumb up here.
So whoops. So you know how it is. So you know how it is.
And Superbook says, oh no, you didn't, T-Pawns.
Oh yes, he did.
Yes, I'm a bad boy. Keith E says lead singers can't go into a house. They don't know when they come in, and they never have the proper key.
They
you have the key to get the house. They don't have the proper key.
I get it. I get it. It's a bad joke. I get it. It's a bad joke.
But according to Cindy D, good pencil joke, Thrash. Thank you. It was the best I could do on such short notice.
No, it was good. It was a good joke.
Oh, look who's here. Sean Innes is here. Sorry, I'm late. Hey, all.
Hey, Sean. How are you doing? My girlfriend's here.
Hi, Ian's girlfriend.
I'll let you guess who it is.
Anyway. I'm into smart.
Yes, that's her. Hey,
Pink
Amanda.
Cadillac Drive-In Theater in Centerville, Tennessee.
That's where we were yesterday.
Oh, isn't it romantic? You know, it's funny. There's a Centerville here on Cape Cod too. It's right next door to Hyannisport.
Well,
Very nice to meet you there, to ENC's girlfriend. Or can I just call you Amanda?
you can just call her Amanda.
Well, all right, I'll just call her Amanda.
Whatever.
Hello, Amanda. Call her whatever? No, I'm going to call her Amanda. And
No,
if you're very lucky, I won't sing. Meet you all the way. No, that's Rosanna.
that's
Amanda was a
Rosanna,
different
but we
song.
could change it. We could
We
do
can change what
Amanda.
he
I don't, yeah,
has.
I don't think she would mind. I outed you, Amanda. I hope you don't mind.
Tugs. Oh, it would help if I highlighted the comment first. Tug says, "We love Gloria here in St. Louis. It's like the theme song for the hockey team, the Blues."
Gloria. Like
Gloria. Da da
Gloria,
da.
Gloria, Gloria. Think I got your number. That song?
Yes. Yeah, that's the one. Oh,
All
and
right.
here's one. Tug says, "I'd pay to see Taylor Swift sing with Def Leppard." You know what? So would I.
You'd pay to see it?
Why not?
Well, yeah, sure. I don't know if I'd pay.
Oh my gosh,
Interesting.
look who's here.
Hey, right
Redbeard
on.
videos. Gentlemen, what's happening?
Redbeard.
Redbeard, how are you doing, man? It's been way, 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 way too long. So good to have you in the house,
We got
man.
to do another music one with you. It's been a while since we've done it. We've talked about music here today, but we haven't really focused in on a music, um, episode for a while. Anyway, glad to have you here with us.
Lance Chafin says drive-ins would have thrived during the pandemic. Here's a little thing here on Cape Cod. They actually opened some impromptu drive-ins. Particularly the one that I had actually gone to when I was a kid. They reopened it, turned it into a drive-in during that summer, and it was very, very, very popular. And thank you. Cindy D says Amanda was Boston. Yes, I remember the song. I just got my wires crossed. Happens.
I'm
Oh,
not sure I
and
remember that song at all. I'm not sure I remember that song at all.
I do. I just can't sing it. It's way out of my range. Like way out of my range. Tom Scavetta says still a drive-in in West Valley, Utah. Not too safe, but
I'm gonna guess that's one of the things we talked about a while ago with drive-in theaters, and that is that they kind of became slums. It's kind of a place where like gangs hung out and stuff like that. So
Red Beard videos goes on to say, "I've always said that a great cover for Tay Swift to do of a classic rock song is Tomorrow by Kiss of the Unmasked album, a great pop rock song."
I could see that happening. I
Mm.
really could see that happening. It would be good.
Yeah, no,
It
I could see it. I could see it.
would sound really good. It's a good idea. I'll call her up
Yeah.
and let her know you thought of it.
You know, just across the board, it would be cool if she did more covers. I know she's trying to be topical and hip and indie, and it works for her. But I think she get a lot of mileage out of doing some old classic vintage rock from the '70s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sounds good.
Tug says, "I always do terrific. I'm sorry, I always do terrible at karaoke. I'm always trying to sing well, and that's totally not the point of karaoke."
You get to do it's fine. You have a few drinks. Other people are having drinks. They get up there and they don't sing great, and so you don't care. It's like you get up there and you just sing a song you like to sing, and you just have fun.
Indeed. Crossing the Door says, if she did that, Paul Stanley would say she is a new member of Kiss.
Maybe,
You
maybe
know, that'd be interesting if Kiss would actually include a female member.
that would what?
That would be interesting if Kiss, because they've changed members many times over the years, if they could
Yeah.
include a female member. I don't see it happening. Redbeard Video says, And I'm great. Got engaged, soon to be married, and I bought out a local record store. So that's
Oh,
been keeping me
cool.
busy. Man, green
Wow.
with envy. That is like cool squared.
Yeah, that is
That is
really
so cool.
cool.
And congratulations on the soon to be married, by the way.
Yeah, congrats.
Let's not gloss over
We're
that. That's
we're
cool too.
yeah, we're all glossing over the married thing. We're like, record store? That is awesome, man.
Oh, my wife wouldn't
You,
be surprised at all.
you can
She'd be
tell
like,
where you can tell where our priorities are, right?
congratulations, man, on both, but
Yes.
especially the engagement part. There you go.
Boys,
I'm
right?
sorry. I'm
Guys.
sorry.
It's like,
Oh, oh, that totally threw me off my game. Most blessed Gigi says, Amanda, love of my life, they should have made you a gentleman's wife.
I
And
think
let's
that's from
see.
the song. Is that from the song?
Yes, yes, it
All
is.
right.
I just couldn't sing it. Boston is way out of my range, which is a pity
Yeah.
because they're one of my favorite bands growing up. I grew up on Cape Cod. You had to love Boston. It was like living in Indiana and not liking John Mellencamp. It was almost a state law. And Redbeard goes on to say, "Thank you all, very content and happy for the first time in a decade, both with my soon-to-be wife and my no venture into selling new. I'm guessing that's new venture
New venture.
into
Yeah.
selling records, or be no
Yeah.
venture, new venture, no venture. That is awesome. That is too awesome. Tug says my first date with my future wife was not the one you have now, the one you're going to be married to in the future. I'm telling. Uh, was to
Yes.
see High Fidelity. Speaking of record stores, and John Cusack for that matter. Well,
Yeah.
Doug, that might be the most appropriate comment of the evening.
I love that movie. Well, I pretty much love anything John Cusack's in, but that was actually one of my favorite movies of his.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
did a top 5 John Cusack movies, and I think that came in at number 2, maybe something like that. I can't remember what it came in at, but I do remember number 1 for me was Gross Point Blank. I mean, I think Gross Point
Well,
Blank is just one of the best movies of all time.
it's an amazing movie. It really is.
And it captures the music of the 90s, and growing up 80s and then getting back together in the 90s and listening to that. I mean, it has such a great soundtrack to it as well. But High Fidelity was great, where it has Jack Black in there, and and they have that little imagination thing about smashing Tim Robbins in the face with the phone and stuff like that.
Was The
Wasn't
Sure
that?
Thing one of the ones too, by the way? Was that in your
I don't
top five list?
I don't know if it was in my top 5 or not.
Mm.
I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Okay, because I always love that movie. I know it's probably not his best movie, but it's just such a. I love that movie. It's a romantic comedy road movie adventure. I thought the chemistry between the two of them was classic. And this isn't a film review episode, so I don't know why I'm
It's
extrapolating on it.
it's an
But
anything goes episode, really. I mean,
there
that's
you
just
go, there
how
you
it
go.
is.
And that movie was from the '90s.
Yeah.
Actually, was it or was it from the
No,
'80s? I
it's
think it was the '80s
80s. It
now.
was 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was a kid when he made that movie. Well,
It
almost a
was a
kid.
great movie. It was a great movie. I loved it. I do loved
I
it. I
I,
like
I always love that movie.
Say Anything was one of my favorite ones that he ever
Well,
did as well.
yeah. That I must confess. I must confess. Say Anything is probably my favorite John Cusack movie. I must confess. I'm guessing that goes without saying. That was on your list, though, was it?
Yes, it was for
That was on
sure.
the top five list. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
don't know
again,
where it was in top 5. I don't really remember my ranking, and that was like one of
that's
my
cool.
earlier videos, so I don't really remember. But he's an icon. He's definitely a 90s icon.
He was, and again, the chemistry with him and Iona Sky was, and of course, the scene, and everyone's already knows what I'm going to say. The scene where he's holding up the boombox playing the Peter Gabriel. I mean,
Uh-huh.
that is legend. That has become like a
Yeah.
trope that
Well,
of the
that's I
'80s.
mean I mean, I've got this right there. I mean, that's my open
Exactly,
how
exactly.
I open
So,
the
two
show right there.
very cool,
The
cool
the
square.
lady that had this, oh, man, I would love to I should look for that on Amazon
Mhm,
because I
mhm,
want that so bad.
mhm. It's very very cool. It's very
Yeah.
cool. And help me out here. The sure thing wasn't his sister? Doesn't she do a cameo Isn't she one of the people who's giving him a ride in the very beginning, and he offends them, and she throws him out of the
Um,
car?
I don't remember. I don't remember, but probably Joan is in a lot of his movies.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna have to dig that movie out and watch it again. I haven't watched that movie in
for
years.
sure.
I think I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to watch it again. Oh, Jenny Staten says my favorite Cusack movie, LOL, Gross Point Blank. Ever seen that one? He's a hitman going to his high school reunion.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Of
We
course.
were
Yeah,
just
we
talking
love it.
about that one.
We are just talking about it. I guess
uh,
Tracy's leaving for the night. Does
where?
Tracy
Oh,
got to
where?
go?
I
All
didn't. I don't
right.
see.
Yeah.
Oh, Tracy says, "Well, guys, have a great night. See you guys soon." Yes, she has to get up in the morning, doesn't she?
I'll
Tracy,
see you.
good seeing you. Take care.
Yeah. All right. Well, we only got a few more minutes left here, and then we got to wrap it up. But whatever, I'm all good with what we have to say. If we got anything left to talk about here,
Daryl Johnson says, Lane, I've been going to this high school for 7.5
and a half
years.
years.
I'm no
I
dummy. I know high school girls.
Yes, yeah, definitely from Better Off Dead. Better Off Dead. That was one of my favorites too. That's a Christmas show at our house.
I
So
love Better Off Dead. I love it's. I
yeah,
think it's one of the funniest movies of the '80s.
I think One Crazy Summer is really good too.
That was filmed on Cape Cod. You know that, right?
Oh, I'm sure it was. I mean, that makes sense to me. But
It,
um,
in fact, a
but
couple people I know are actually in it
oh
as
really?
as extras in the background. Yes, a couple people I
Yeah,
know were in that movie. And you know that big climactic yacht race at the end, which is loosely based on the Fagawi, which is an actual boat race on Cape Cod. Well, Nantucket actually, but who's counting? Um, when the boats came out, that little river they come out of, that's
yeah,
Parker's River. That's right off Seagull Beach. That's what the beach I went to like every day when I was a kid.
right
So it's a
on.
small world, yeah, small world.
Mm.
Oh, Sean Innes says, and Better Off Dead, although Cusack hates it for some reason. I used to watch it all the time in college. He hates that movie?
He did. He doesn't anymore.
Oh, I see.
But I mean, he was a very serious actor. And
Mhm.
so when he filmed that, he thought it came off as a little too silly for him. But then he went on to do, One Crazy Summer, which is just as
Mhm.
silly, if not
Silly.
sillier.
Sillier. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
So, but
So,
yeah,
yeah.
he walked out of the theater when out of the theater when he saw it. So, and he was really upset with it. But I think he's chilled out a little bit since then, and I think he realizes that a lot of people really enjoyed that movie. So,
Huh. Well, that's good. This story is sounding familiar. Did you talk about that before? That he walked
probably.
out? Because that sounds familiar. I think I heard that somewhere. But thank you for telling me the story again.
Yeah.
So he says, I like when the paperboy chased John was his $2 and crashed. He said, "Oh, $2 and Better Off Dead."
Yeah.
EJ Daly sung the theme song. Um, that's also her EJ Daly. Well, oh yes, that's actually her in the prom scene.
Oh, yeah,
She
yeah.
sings it there too. That's actually her.
Yeah.
And prom or whatever the dance they're going to at that time.
No. That
But
has a lot of
uh,
great music in it. Better
yeah,
Better Off That has some really good music in it.
it really did. It really did.
Yeah.
Tug says, catch you then, Lance. I'll get you the link to when it gets closer. Oh, Lance is saying good night. Let me just see. Lance Javen says, bye, guys. See some of you on Sunday. You certainly will, Lance. You'll certainly see me.
Okay. Well, hey, we'll go ahead. I think people are closing out, starting to leave a little bit here. So we'll go ahead and close out. I mean, we're almost at the half hour mark anyway. So or the 1.5 hour mark, I should
90
say.
minute.
Yeah. Anyway, but I just want to say thank you to everybody and thank you for sharing. Thank you for all the new subscribers. And thank you for all the people who've hung in there with me from the beginning as well. It does seem like, I mean, I'm only at this point less than 150 away from making it to that 1,000 mark. And if you want to help me out as well, if you've got like, an extra laptop at home or something like that that you're not using, go to my channel, put on a playlist, and let it play because I've got to get to those 4,000 hours as well, which I'm not at that yet. So I want to get to the 1,000 subscribers and then to the 4,000 hours of watch time, and that's how you can help me out. Just let it play, so that way I can get those hours in. And Thrash, you moved yours to Sunday night.
Sunday nights, yes. The restaurant at where I work is back open after some renovations. They now need me to work my Thursday nights. So my live chats are on Sunday from 7:30 until whenever for at least the foreseeable future. And for
Yeah,
those of you who haven't been able to make it, please come. I am doing one again this coming Sunday. And this coming Sunday, also please join me at with Tug and Lance at 1 p.m. where we're going to be talking about 90s action films.
90s action films. All right. I'm hoping I'm invited to that too. Send me the link. Send me the link. All right.
Lancelot
Okay.
Link, the Bridget. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys so very, very, very much.
Thank you, everybody. We will talk to you again very soon.